It's been a dream to join the MCU. The movie is called The Fantastic Four. I'll confess, I did all my stretching for...
The whole thing is fucking insane. It's insane. It's the whole thing is nuts.
Pascal is getting very defensive. He's getting very much, of course, vocal toward the critics, toward Marvel fans, blaming everything on Trump, blaming everything on MAGA and Trump supporters again.
Sometimes I felt like I was in a Reed Richards science class, which is not what I really wanted to be in.
Pedro Pascal is firing back. He's getting very tired of...
Look, this is not a life-changing, the MCU has been saved, this movie paid off my car, this movie cured my depression.
You've heard the whispers, right? The ones that say Joe Rogan didn't just talk about Pedro Pascal, he threw down a verbal gauntlet so epic it left a crater in the podcasting world. The fallout? Rumors say the Fantastic Four movie is DOA, and its sequel is already a ghost in the machine. And the culprit, according to all the whispers, a certain celebrated actor who, it seems, mistook a superhero blockbuster for his own personal one-man emotional support group. But before we get to the punchline, you have to hear the setup, because this story starts not with a bang, but with a pen, a notebook, and a whole lot of creative tension.
Disney and Marvel Studios, they went into panic mode, they went into damage control mode, over, of course, all the Hollywood trades talking about this.
But what exactly happened behind those closed rehearsal doors? What was he scribbling furiously about? The whole saga, they say, began not on a film set, but in a quiet rehearsal room, the kind of place where actors are supposed to build chemistry, not dismantle it. While his co-stars, the remarkably chill Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn, were just trying to learn their lines, our leading man was reportedly in the corner, scribbling furiously in a notebook. Whispers from the crew were already circulating, suggesting he wasn't just preparing his performance, he was allegedly rewriting the script. Sources say he was molding the film into something he called Reed Richards' emotional grief tour. This wasn't some minor tweak, it was, by all accounts, a full-scale rewrite, turning a four-person superhero team-up into a one-man show.
And actually going through a 66% drop, globally speaking.
But the true masterpiece of this unfolding drama, the moment that had everyone's jaws on the floor, was yet to come. It happened during a seemingly innocuous table read, a formality that was about to turn into a full-blown crisis. You see, this wasn't just any table read, folks. This was the moment where the cast and crew get together to hear the script read aloud for the very first time. It's supposed to be a bonding experience, a collaborative first step. But according to insiders, our star arrived not with the official script from the studio, but with his own heavily edited version, a script that looked like it had been through a paper shredder and then taped back together with red pen. What did this mangled manuscript say, you ask? Entire scenes were crossed out. New monologues were scrawled in the margins, and dialogue had been completely gutted. He had, to the shock of everyone, allegedly thrown out the studio's official script and started reading from what Rogan later called his little grief diary.
Box office metrics for the Fantastic Four First Steps now sitting at $367 million worldwide.
The initial reaction was stunned, silence from the cast and crew. You could have heard a pin drop. Then, he delivered the line that reportedly froze the room solid. He looked around the table and declared, "If this is just another cookie-cutter Marvel flick, I'm wasting my time." Boom. The silence that followed was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. Vanessa Kirby, the epitome of professionalism, just sat there, arms crossed. Joseph Quinn, looking like he'd just witnessed a magic trick gone horribly wrong, reportedly just stared. But the most bizarre part wasn't the words themselves. It was what happened next. Instead of a dramatic walkout or a fiery argument, there was nothing. Just an eerie, quiet, slow-motion death of all creative momentum. But how did the rest of the cast respond to this masterclass in creative self-sabotage? And what would happen to the movie itself? They completely vanished. Rogan, with his trademark bluntness, dubbed it the quietest mutiny in Marvel history. There were no public statements, no dramatic posts on social media, no angry leaks to the press. The cast just stopped answering calls. They disappeared into thin air, leaving Marvel in a full-blown panic. This kind of silence, Rogan pointed out, is louder than any press release. It's the Hollywood equivalent of a friend who just stops texting you back. You know something's wrong, but you can't prove it. The studio couldn't fire our lead actor without a fan backlash, but they couldn't keep him because the rest of the cast was gone. So, in a moment of pure desperation, they tried one last thing. They scheduled what insiders referred to as the Hail Mary Zoom call, a last-ditch, no executives, just the cast and director meeting to try and patch things up. But you won't believe what happened on that call. Instead of a two-way conversation, the call became a 20-minute monologue. Rogan roasted the moment, describing how our star went full Shakespeare in a hotel room. He launched into a dramatic, unprompted speech about trauma, symbolism, and how Marvel needed to evolve. He even had the audacity to quote Stan Lee, claiming his own interpretation of Reed Richards was more authentic than anything the writers had written. When Vanessa Kirby, trying to salvage the situation, attempted to interject, he cut her off with a dramatic flourish. It's not about hierarchy, Vanessa. It's about message. And that was the breaking point. Joseph Quinn, having clearly had enough, logged off the call mid-sentence. No warning, no goodbye. Vanessa followed a second later. By the end, our star was reportedly talking to a near-empty screen. Rogan couldn't stop laughing. This guy went from leading a blockbuster to lecturing an empty Zoom call, and in that moment, the project died a quiet, permanent death. With the film's creative heart now a ghost, Marvel had to do something to save face. So, they launched what Rogan sarcastically called the Marvel Witness Protection Program. Step 1, blame the delays on strikes and creative rewrites. Rogan mocked this, saying this wasn't about a writer's strike, it was about a Pedro strike. Step 2, quietly introduce multiverse variants. This gave them the perfect narrative backdoor to recast the roles without actually admitting to a full-on recast. The idea was to just put new faces on the screen and hope the fans didn't notice. Step 3, sideline our star without triggering his massive fan base. The plan was to keep him technically attached to the project, but with no creative influence and zero control. Rogan summed up the whole strategy in one brutal line. They couldn't fire him, so they faded him like a bad Instagram filter. But did this clever plan actually work? Not a chance. You can't just go silent on a project as big as the Fantastic Four and expect the internet to stay quiet. Reddit threads exploded. TikTok was flooded with minute-by-minute breakdowns of every awkward interview. YouTubers became body language experts, dissecting every glance and nervous smirk. Rogan even played one of the viral clips on his show and called it a TED Talk hostage situation. Meanwhile, the rest of the cast was thriving. Vanessa Kirby signed on with Christopher Nolan. Joseph Quinn landed a major deal with Warner Brothers. Ebon Moss-Bachrach was scooped up by A24 for a prestige thriller. All of them, not a word of public complaint, no interviews throwing shade, just silence. And that silence, Rogan pointed out, was the loudest middle finger in Hollywood. It was a message that said everything without saying anything at all. This whole saga spiraled into a full-blown industry cautionary tale, a story where ego clashed with expectation, and the audience got a front-row seat to the explosion. Pedro Pascal didn't just act in a movie, he became the story. And Marvel lost control of the narrative before a single frame was ever shot. The whole thing started with a comic book movie, but ended with a real-life soap opera, leaving us all to wonder about the power dynamics in Hollywood and the true meaning of creative control. So now we're left to ask, was our star genuinely trying to push for meaningful art, or was this just a classic case of an actor getting a little too big for his spandex? The rumors continue to swirl, but one thing is clear. The Fantastic Four may have to look for a whole new reality to exist in.